we should probably.
And then we'll laughing. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for the very first episode of Warped Wednesday. Wallace, my friend, can you tell everyone what Warped Wednesday is going to be?
So Warped Wednesday is Mike and I's new sit and talk kind of podcast style, shooting the breeze, having a chit chat kind of video deal.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about chaos. We'll talk about our hobby things that we're excited about. We're going to talk a little bit about some cool tactics or games we've played recently. And we're also just going to hopefully be vaguely entertaining with our meandering commentary.
Yeah.
So
no, that's spot on. So for everyone that's more familiar with Warphammer as kind of a tactics competitive focus channel, Warp Wednesdays are kind of bring a different side. More personal. It's more about watching two good friends enjoy the hobby together. But we do, again, Warhammer, it's all about chaos. We're going to talk about some tactics that are on our minds, maybe some lists we've worked on, games we've played. So kind of a mix of a hangout, some tactics, and also just a chance to kind of, the hobby's all about spending time with people you enjoy, all about having a good time. I'm getting the most you can out of it. So Warp Wednesday will just be kind of a chance to enjoy that. And it's one of those things where we're going to kind of see what people are enjoying over time. So go ahead, drop a like, drop a comment, let us know what you thought. If you're feeling really generous, go ahead and subscribe. Because again, we're still trying to figure out what's the best content that you're going to enjoy and have you come enjoy this journey with us. So Wallace, with that caveat out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into our very first Warped Wednesday. Wallace, my friend, tell me, what are you hopping right there? Because I see goats in front of you.
So I have been spending the greater portion of my free time the last few days painting a horde army. Wouldn't you believe it? I thought when I finished up my last 40 blue horrors and 40 brims for the Seattle tournament, I thought I was going to be done for a while. I just kind of hang on the laurels of what I've already done. Horrible idea. It was a terrible one. I thought, it'd be kind of fun if I was like, if I took a couple of cool chaos ideas that were kind of floating around out here, and I tried to get the community involved. So
getting the community involved is always either a really good idea or a really bad idea. And I'm still not quite sure yet about this goat list.
This is the Bodie McBoat face of chaos lists. So I asked our Discord channel, because they're pretty active people. I was like, hey, I love the community. So I was like, hey, I'm going to ACO, Disciples of Be'lakor. I've played it so much at this point that I'm kind of looking for something different to try out. At least until we get more from the Chaos Space Marines Codex, and I figure that out later. So I kind of took 3 solid concepts that I thought could make some solid chaos lists, ones I could see myself at least winning a few games with, and just ask the Discord, hey, which one do you want me to play and do a video on? And one of them, the third one I just threw in at the last minute, Mike, regretting it, was the new Warp Meld Pact. So part of the mistake made there was...
Part of the mistake is the Warp Meld Pact, in my opinion, is so bad that most people aren't even know what the Warp Meld Pact is. If you got the latest White Dwarf in it, or I think it's in the White Dwarf, right?
No, it's it's a camp, dude.
Oh, it's an actual supplement book. Okay. No disrespect to White Dwarf, but there's a supplement for a something no one really wanted, a Zangor-focused Army of Renown for the Thousand Suns, which is, I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed. There's so many amazing sculpts. Why not do a Mutilith Vortex Beast-focused AOR? Tell me that wouldn't have been incredible. I would play the hell out of that.
I would have liked it if the Mutilith Vortex Beast got worked into...
Anything. Yeah.
Zangors needed something, because they didn't really do anything. They were just expensive cultists in the
Still don't
book.
do anything, but okay.
Now they don't do anything slightly better.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was one of the three options I threw out there to see if people would be interested in.
What were the other two options again?
Chaos Knights and Death Guard.
Chaos Knights
Which
and Death Guard.
I want to talk about Death Guard
Oh
today.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But unbelievable because of the memes. Unbelievable support for the GOAT list. Far and away, just blew the other ones out of the water. So now I feel like I'm dedicated to it. I have about 90 more goats to paint. So misery. It's misery is what I have in front of me.
You're already committed. You've already gotten the goat tattoo. You've already gotten the Zangor tattoo. You've already changed your name to Wallace Goat Donald. You're so far committed to this army.
And I already came up with the best name in the universe for my army. It's going to be called Hot Goat Summer.
Okay. Wallace, here's my promise to you. If you win a major with Hot Goat Summer, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something. I don't want to promise a tattoo. That's a bit much.
We'll go. I will.
Get an actual goat.
I mean, actual.
Well, there's services online where you can like adopt an animal, quote unquote, at a zoo or like a farm or something. I'll find one of those for goats and I'll adopt a goat online. That'll be my promise to you. If you win a major with Hot Goat Summer, I will officially adopt a Warphammer goat somewhere. That'll be our promise.
And that's probably better for the, because as you can see from kind of my background here, my hobby room has even become crowded with my models. So
yeah,
wouldn't worry, keep all stuff.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. There's no shame in having a crowded hobby room. I think if I said that, I think probably over half of our listeners would probably take that very personally. We love you all. There is no shame in a crowded hobby room, none at all.
Yeah. Now a hobby room crowded with goats.
To be fair, if you have any room of the house crowded with goats, like if your kitchen was crowded with goats, you have a big issue. A hobby room is probably the best place to have a bunch of goats.
You have to be chewing on all your models in your brand new campaign book, which rules on how to run your tiny plastic goats. So what have you been excited about hobby wise, Mike? That's kind of my story, my situation.
Cool. I'm actually very excited because when we first started getting the leaks about Chaos Knights, I just got a promotion at work. I had very little free time, some personal stuff. And I wasn't able to dive into as much as I wanted. But come this weekend, pre-orders out, friendly local gaming store, got a copy of the Chaos Knights box and got one of these bad boys, got a limited edition Chaos Knights Codex. And I'll tell you what, I'm just so excited to dive into this. My mistake was I got the limited edition version because that's the one that came in the Codex, came in the box set. And honestly, this book is just so much fun to read through. Like today, I was doing something in the bathroom, and I brought a copy of the book with me because I thought it might be a while. I'm not very good with Mexican food. And long story short is I brought a copy and I was reading through the lore. Like there's a lot of really cool paint schemes and lore in here. Like look at this Yellow Knight right here. Wrong side. Yellow Knight right here. That's not the coolest scheme. That's actually incredible.
Oh man. So tell me the name of they changed all of the names of the equipment in the book.
Yes.
To be more. What's the name of the outlet now? It's like a warp.
Let me see here. It's the Warp Strike Claw. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. The Desecrator's gun is called the Desecrator Laser Destructor, which couldn't they have come with like some short name? We don't need like 3 words. Like the Demon Breath Thermal Cannon. Why not just a thermal cannon? Was there going to be that much confusion if they just called it a thermal cannon?
Well, part for me that I'm really excited about is not really even to play the Chaos Knights. I think they're really cool.
Oh, there'd be so much fun. Like people, seriously, there'd be a lot of Warhammer content about Knights coming up. The book's amazing. Yeah.
But I'm most excited about learning all the names for all of the Knights, even though I'm not faction, and then correcting people whenever they say the wrong name because they're used to calling it like Thunderstrike Gauntlet, and I'll be sorry, dude. You mean the Warp Strike Claw? Or is that what you're using?
Yeah.
Is that the item?
Yeah. Let's see. Actually, Wallace, let's do a quick little game here on Warped Wednesday. I will give you 2 weapon names. One is real in the Codex. One is fake. You tell me which one's the real one, okay? The Warp Fused Decimator. The Ectoplasma Decimator. Which is the real one?
Are they both real? Is this a trick question?
Maybe. Which do you think is real?
I mean, Ectoplasm Decimator sounds less real because it makes me think of Ghostbusters. So I'll say that one. If I had
Well,
to choose.
you've lost your first week of Warped Wednesday. I won't be able to hold up the camera, but the Ectoplasma Decimator is the new name for the plasma gun on the Castellan, or I guess the Tyrant version.
Oh, it's shoots
well, Ectoplasm. Boom. Yeah.
It's Slimer. It's Slimer from.
I imagine the little Ghostbusters ghost coming out of his gun. Yeah. We'll see here.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty fun. I like that.
Yeah. And some seem like, like something that sounds like a fan name, like the Dark Flame Cannon. Sounds made up. Sounds like a fan weapon. It's in the codex right here.
That reminds me of Xbox Live as an elementary schooler. Yeah. Everyone had names like XX Dark Master Vampire Slayer.
Exactly. Okay. Well, here's another game. Your second game on Warped Wednesday. If you could choose one thing to have in your list, which would you rather have? One Brimstone Horror or one Brimstone Volcano Lance? Which would you rather have on the list?
Which would I rather have? Well, where there's one Brimstone Horror, there's many more. And that cannon can't fire itself. So you didn't say that it was attached to a model.
That's true.
So I'm Brimstone Horror on this one. It's OBSEC. I mean, it's 5 points per model.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, actually, if the Brimstone Horror is an engagement range, the Brimstone Volcano Lance is blast, so it can't actually even shoot the Brimstone Horror. Whereas the Brimstone Horror can make attacks against the Brimstone Volcano Lance. So clearly, go ahead and magnetize your weapons, everyone, and put Brimstone Horrors instead of Brimstone Volcano Lances on your Night Tyrants. See, okay, I told everyone to start. This would be a tactics and competitive focused Warped Wednesday episode, and we're getting really deep here.
Real question, though. What is your favorite new Chaos Knight thing? What is it? What is the thing you're most excited about for Chaos Knights? I have a very defined answer here, but I'm waiting for yours.
I will say House Korvax and the stratagem to move through terrain, which again, I played the Lord Discordant with the Mind Veil, which is the Alpha Legion relic to move through terrain at the Seattle Open. It was insanely impactful. Like the threat ranges became so much harder to play around. So having the stratagem to any point activate it for any knights on the board, that's gonna be beautiful. Wallace, what are you excited about?
I am really torn on the exact way to answer this mechanically. Excited for dread tests. I think they're going to be a thing in 40k. Like if there's when we get our next demons drop and the book actually comes out, I would be incredibly surprised if we didn't have something like dread tests, or even just referring to something as a dread test itself. It seems really chaosy. It's really flavorful. It's just a leadership test, really. It's the new name for it. But it's giving us a way to use leadership in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about it. I think that heralds a lot of cool mechanical changes to come. However, if I'm saying just the one thing from the book itself that I'm excited about, the Abominant, dude, the Abominant. Yes. It is so cool. The model is awesome. It's got psychic rules. It's got a big tendril arm. You can make it corn an iconoclast, and it's like, it got 1 million attacks.
1 million AP.
1 million attacks and 1 million AP. Like, I love it. I love that model. I love its rules. I think if I brought Knights, like Chaos Knights, just perusing the book, every single time I would bring an Abominant. Super cool. And then I would bring like a Core Knight for some anti-psychic nonsense. And then I would bring like a Slanesh Knight with the like, I don't know what it's called, favor, the beguiling favor. So it's like the combat penalty favor. I don't know. But that to me, I
just checked the codex. The name of the upgrade is actually called the combat penalty favor. I don't know. That's actually the name in the codex. So great memory there. That's really, GW has really blessed us here.
It's those grainy leak pictures, man. I just retain that right over here.
My one worry about Slanesh Knight is there's a lot of armies, unfortunately, all the Eldari factions that have these just ridiculous stratagems to reroll hits and wounds versus Slanesh unit, which when you get the upgrade, you do get the Slanesh keyword. That, I'll be honest, that scares me a little bit. Like, not enough to not run it at all, but enough to if there's like two equally good knights I can make, I would choose the non-Slanesh one, all things being equal. Which is it's a little unfortunate. I do wish those kind of stratagems would go to like Crusade or stay out of matched play, but unfortunately they're there. So, well, actually, another thing I found out recently. You know how the Thousand Suns have the stratagem to like be extra good at punching space wolves or whatever?
Yeah, the Revenge of Cross.
Yeah, it doesn't actually work against Space Wolves successors. They have to be an actual Space Wolves army, which everyone's running Space Wolves successors these days, so you can basically never actually use the stratagem.
They're like your friends. Your friends. I don't like those guys.
Yeah,
but you're kind of cool.
They're like, we're not into wolves, but you're wolf adjacent. It's close enough. We're good here. Yeah.
That's really funny. But yeah, like to your point, yeah, there's reasons that you would make me not want to bring the Slanesh Knight, but the idea of just a really scary one getting in the middle of a bunch of tiers going, witness me, super cool.
Yeah, no, because there's a stratagem to also get +1 or actually +2 attacks if you're near a horde, and then you get the sweep profile, so it's really +6. You're gonna be cooking. You're gonna be cooking real well. Well, let's talk about running knights with other armies. Which chaos armies do you think would most benefit from running, like bringing a knight alongside them?
Thousand Suns. Thousand Suns play every phase.
Okay.
They play every phase very decently. What I mean by that is they shoot well.
Yeah.
They move well because they have movement tricks. They have decent combat with scarabs. They have their swords, which are surprisingly quite good.
Yeah.
And then their psychic phase is obviously pretty scary. I mean, it averages somewhere between like 10 and 16 mortal wounds, depending on your build, which is a good range.
Yeah,
so
no joke.
Yeah, no joke at all. So they play every phase pretty well, but there's a couple of areas where they're clearly weaker. One of them is, while yes, the scarabs have surprisingly good melee, it's not a lot of high strength, high AP anti-vehicle or anti like tanky stuff melee. I think knights help with that a lot. I think you could run like 3 carnivores as like an ally, allied dread, and that would be pretty good as just a counter charge. Yep, like your Harlequin are going to get into combat with my, Scarab Occult Terminators, and we'll trade back and forth a little bit there. But if I really need to pick something up, I can throw a carnivore in there and really pick up your unit. Or the other knight players, right? If a knight player gets a carnivore, is pretty scary into them because their attacks are like strength 12 or something on the stab profile. So, yeah,
that makes complete sense. How do you feel about Disciples of Be'lakor? Because that's kind of the question I keep getting is, are you going to run a knight in Disciples of Be'lakor? And the answer is, first of all, how dare you speak to me, the classic joke. But most importantly, I'm a little worried because we really need our CP in Disciples to do all the fuel the Jank tank. And a knight will cost 3 CP, unfortunately. Or like if you want to bring 3, like 1 knight or 3 little guys, either way. Do you think it would grab CP too quickly in Disciples?
Where do you want me to start on this one? I guess I thought a lot about this because we've known about this for a while, but we haven't known about the knight rules for a while. So once we got those leaks, that's when I started to, really start considering the idea and play around with some of the possibilities. I think because a lot of the things you really want, like the relics and stuff, are going to be locked at the moment, at least. It's gonna reduce my drive to try it. I mean, there's certain things that combos that you can pull off with specific knights that make them kind of terrors on the tabletop, but a lot of them require a warlord trait or a relic. So that right off the cuff, it lowers my interest level a little bit. But then just as somebody with a lot of practice playing Disciples, I always wish I had more Horde bodies and less Be'lakor. I'm forced to bring Be'lakor. I'm legally obligated to bring Bellacore
James
to the
Workshop
table.
shows up and straight up knocks your models off the table if you don't put Bellacore on the table. James Workshop himself shows up every time.
I will get a cease and desist notice if I try to play Disciples of Bellacore without Bellacore.
Without Bellacore, yeah.
But he's not a faction keyword.
Cool.
The Disciples is not a faction keyword.
Okay.
Breaks my soul. But that said, do I really want a big dumb guy running around with my other big dumb guy when I'm trying to play a horde faction? Not really. And there's not a lot of support pieces that exist to play that kind of mechanized push a bunch of face style in Disciples in its current form.
Yeah.
So as it stands at this exact moment, not that interested, because it's a lot of points for a unit that is most threatening to melee. Yeah, you can do some shooting knight builds, but they're not particularly scary, especially not without anything roiding up the shooting. And I don't need another melee threat. I am already generating that with like Bloodletters and with Bellacore himself, but Bloodletters
really just Bloodletters, let's be honest, but that's okay. Mainly just Bloodletters.
Bloodletters and Bellacore, but Bellacore body slammed like 6 Flyrants in Seattle. Like, it's beautiful, but it was 380 points to bring him. So I don't really want more expensive big guys. Now, there's a possibility in the future, right, that new Chaos Space Marine Codex comes out, and suddenly their 3-wound Terminators are really appealing to me, and I start wanting to run models that are going to multiple threat overload them more. And I'm not going to want to tech into the horde aspect as much. I could see that kind of list working. Like if I'm bringing in much more high wound models. So if I'm bringing like beasts and Terminators and some kind of Disciples of Bellacore vehicles that I can't even imagine in my tiny little brain.
Termite drills, Land Raiders, all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, if they somehow make me want those models in the next Chaos Space Marine book, which maybe they do, and they fix some of the keywording stuff, whatever, then Knights are 100% on the table for me.
So we've agreed that Disciples of Bellacore would be better without Bellacore. How about Disciples of Bellacore without the Disciples? Would you play an army just of Bellacore? That was just Bellacore with a bunch of summoning points, summoning different things. Tell me that's not a good list. Tell me that's not a good list.
Not even Bellacore, it's just of. Would you play of?
That's just, you get one Land Raider. That's the entire army. The army is just called of.
Your army is one Land Raider, and it gets the Disciples keyword, but that doesn't mean anything for a vehicle.
So no Knights and Disciples of Bellacore. Let's talk Death Guard, which, spoiler alert, probably for the second Worked Wednesday. Our second topic, Wallace and I have a lot of thoughts on Death Guard. Like a weird amount of thoughts, possibly an unhealthy amount of thoughts, if we're just being entirely honest about Death Guard. But let's talk about, would you run a Knight in your Death Guard? If you had to play Death Guard, and it's not the list most people are going to run, but would you run a Knight with your Death Guard, Wallace?
Yeah. That's a lot easier answer. So the Dreadblades fit a lot better with the play styles of Thousand Suns and Thousand Suns, because it helps shore up some of the areas that you are less strong in, and Death Guard because it shores up the areas that you are blaringly weak in. Like especially, holy mackerel, the Terminator builds. I'm gonna go on a long rant about Terminator builds. You need more things that threaten people early, and you also want more punch. And as it stands, you don't have a lot of punch unless you layer enough buffs on your Terminator squads, and they choose to let you get into combat with them.
Well, there's other squads you can layer buffs on that are very good, but I'll save that for next episode. We're not going to get too sidetracked here. Yeah,
please, that's my special side.
Yeah, to make something good in Death Guard, you need Arch Contaminator nearby. You need Biologist Putrefier. You need probably Tallyman for +1 to hit earlier. Or maybe the Strat for +1 to hit for Terminators. There's like a whole lot of moving parts there. Whereas you can just bring like 3 War Dogs and then just let them loose or whatever. And they'll do stuff. whereas basically nothing else in the army does stuff by itself.
Yeah, when I'm thinking Death Guard, I'm starting to think like, what if I had 3 carnivores running around, hopping on all the objectives in a mess? Because that's going to buy you time to get those Terminators in position, or to get your slow-moving blobs of poxwalkers up the table. And I think you really, really want that as Death Guard. You really want those carnivores, particularly. So
unless you're a king and run Terminus Est, in which case you've got your fast-moving blobs of poxwalkers. But I digress.
So do you digress? Because I do like me some Terminus Est. I do
Terminus
like
Est is Terminus Best, no doubt there. Let's talk about CSM though in Knights quickly, because that's kind of the other faction we haven't covered. Well, let's actually talk Demons first, because we've talked about Disciples. Let's quickly pivot back to Demons. Will you run a Knight with a Demons list right now?
I wish you could give them the demon keyword, because if you could, I would. If you could, there'd be so many crazy
Advancing and charging Slaanesh Knights. Oh, one time.
Or just like a super crazy, super punch, Locus of Virulence nonsense knight, or something spicy like that.
Or let me hit you with an idea. It's a bunch of Khorne demons, and you have knights, and you have like additional resources and rules for running a Khorne army together. You call it like Khorne Demon Brothers, Khorne Demon Brothers, Khorne Demon Family, Khorne Demon Kin. Tell me that wouldn't be a fun army to run. Tell me that wouldn't be good.
You're baiting me right now.
You've been masterfully baited on a Work Wednesday.
Yeah, Mike knows that KDK is like one of my favorite 7th edition factions. Yeah, and you can also, by the way, just completely unrelated to anything we were just talking about, you could run a kill team in 7th edition where you just were like, hey, 200 points, make a 200-point list. You could run a kill team that was perfectly and exactly 8 Khorne bikers. It was the Khorne number. It was the biker number. It was beautiful. But I love me some KDK. If you're playing Khorne for whatever reason, I mean, first of all,
because you have good taste. Yeah, that's one of the only reasons you need.
Yeah, Blood God bless you for sticking it out this long. But because you have a lot of data sheets that are not good right now, if you were given a opportunity to take a data sheet that's miles better, you absolutely should. And I think on a point for point basis, the Knights are going to just outcompete your Bloodthirsters and stuff.
Will definitely outcompete your Blood Crushers.
They'll definitely outcompete your Blood Crushers, which really are victims of coherency and nothing else. But yeah, right now if you're playing Demons too, like just as a concept, you're probably a Horde army, because that's the one thing that they do incredibly well that other people don't. But there are a few people that are running around with those monster mash lists.
We are talking about, remember, we're talking Demons right now, not Disciples of Be'lakor. And actual Codex Demon Hordes aren't nearly as good as Disciples.
Oh, I have an odd argument here. I think that there is a strong argument that Zenich Horde is actually better.
I've been thinking that exact thing. With the Changeling and the Horrors, I haven't played it though. So I'm not as confident as you.
I've played it before. I think it's actually just, you can soup in Chaos Space Marines 1,000 Suns, which have a lot of cross-book synergies. I was playing kind of like a weaker version of what I think the tuned Zenith Horde list looks like when I was at and it felt good. So that's a list.
The Changeling with Horrors is just beautiful, 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 beautiful.
Yep, Nurgle also does Horde with just like 100-something Plague Bearers. Slaanesh Demonettes, nobody has ever done this except me and maybe the like 3 people commenting that they've done this. But just Demonette Hordes, you bring big blobs of them. There's a lot of wounds on the table, and you bring Celeste, and you bring a Demon Prince, and you bring the Mask, and you put these 3 characters around the Demonette blobs, and you kind of just like shimmy these big tendrils around the board, killing the things you touch, or wrapping everything.
One really cool thing I found out about Slaanesh Demon Horde lists is you can make some really mean to the last lists. Like you can make like Celeste, the Mirror, and like maybe like something else. I don't know, figure it out. like a demon prince with wings or something, and get like a bunch of demonettes, some fiends in there. It plays the mission super well. It does like psychic actions very well. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's definitely something there. Yeah.
You're doing it Italian. So I played this in 8th, and I think I won it. I either won or did well at an RT with it. But it was Contorted Epitome, The Mask, Celeste, and Demon Prince. And that was before a lot of our missions are the way they are. I think that list just preserve it, and then a bunch of demonettes, and then like 2 horses to tie things up with your lovely anteaters. Really cool. Probably doesn't benefit from a knight, I would say. So on the note of the knights, like, you don't really want that with any of these horde builds that we've mentioned. The only one that kind of wants a knight, I think, is going to be Khorne, just because they need new data sheets that help them stuff, and they need points on the board so they can put more in reserves. And then the monster mash lists that do occasionally do well, those lists are kind of balanced around their buffs that they put on their big guys. And it's not like having another more expensive big guy solves the problems those lists.
It makes the list like maybe like a little bit more efficient because the data sheet might be better at that point, but it's not like changing how the army plays at all. The one thing I will say is I do think if you're running a soup monster mash list, I think House Korvax, I think it is, for that stratagem to move through walls could be really good. Because maybe like turn one you get a bunch of like keepers, like maybe with like the celerity of Slaanesh. Or
because you don't have to keep them as agents at that point. Like, you could just actually bring
because this is something a lot of people have missed, because the thing came at the fallen heroes or whatever to run a unit and not lose monofaction bonuses. Basically, half the cast armies still don't have monofaction bonuses. Like, you can run a knight detachment with your cast Space Marines or demons and lose literally nothing right now.
True. If you tech too heavily into that, though, it stops being a demon list and it just becomes a knight list, right? But if you're like, hey, I'm going to run 3 keepers and like a bunch of knights, seems pretty good.
Almost, yeah. Can do psychic actions, can play aggressively, can score engage. Let's talk cast Space Marines and knights, because I've got some hot takes on this, but I want to get your hot takes first, because my hot takes might be a little too hot to start off with.
Well, my hot takes are also pretty hot on it. I actually think the Lord of Skulls does most of the things the knights do still.
I swear for everyone listening, because it's our first Warped Wednesday, we don't rehearse these ahead of time, so we don't plan this out. It's literally just off the dome the entire time. My hot take was going to be about the Lord of Skulls. You just come here and take it first. I can't. I think we think too similarly. I can't let you go first on topics. You're going to take my idea. I have no good hot takes left. What's my hot take going to be now? Like, Noise Marines are good. Like, I have no hot takes left. Fine, Wallace, continue your hot take. You're ready to take your hot take. Finish it off.
Your takes are cold. Stop riding my coattails. Lord of Skulls. It does a lot of things you're trying to accomplish. So you don't really need to. What do we got here?
Thomas the Spank Engine is coming hot. He's got some thoughts for you, Wallace, after the show.
I just don't see a lot of cross book synergy between what they do and what you are trying to do as a Space Marine player, which right now seems to be just put a bunch of Terminators in your face with melta guns and combi meltas and stuff.
Put a lot of Decimators in your face and shoot mortal wounds at you.
True,
it's a cool party trick. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, and that's fun. I mean, there's Chaos Space Marine are fun. I'll give them that.
They're cute.
Look, top 23 at an event if you're good.
Yeah, well, you have to be really good to do that though with Alpha Legion. Like, only the best of the best, the elite of the elite, the warp of the hammers to go top 25, top 10% at a major with Alpha Legion. I will say, I didn't realize this until actually writing the article later, just how funny and in character it was. I showed up to the event not knowing it was going to run, literally confusing both friends and foes. And in the morning of, I suddenly pivot to bring Alpha Legion, and Alpha Legion shows up at the tournament. I didn't even know I was bringing Alpha Legion to the tournament. That's like some good level of mind games there. I was layers on layers.
I knew that you were, and I only had
that you knew, which is why I didn't fight it
to get you there. Yeah.
Well, it's like the Word Bearers. The Word Bearers, their whole thing is like they bring people to chaos. I brought my chaos down thinking it was gonna be word bearers. They did their job. They got chaos and demons into the building, and the Alpha Legion showed up. We could not have scripted this better.
Him. So Mike and I played a couple of practice games, and he was running word bearers at the time. And word bearers are very consistent because of their ability to auto cast powers and stuff. But
Basically, auto cast prayers. It's beautiful.
Right. Yeah. So their consistency, though, is you're consistently doing something suboptimum. Alpha Legion give you more angles of play, which is why I thought they were much better. So I took the opportunity to, when I knew he was playing word bearers, just run circles around him with my deep strikes and my movement tricks and saying, haha, you never play the primary. Because I was trying to bully him into taking Alpha Legion. And I knew that eventually Mike was a good enough player, he'd realize that it was the way to go. He was Alfarius all along. So we just had to get there, right?
Or Omega. Or here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, I was gonna be happy playing whatever Legion. Like, there's literally not a single Legion I could have played that would have not been like, oh, you know what, I don't want to enjoy this. I'm not enjoying playing this Legion. Like, honestly, we can talk about this later. I think Night Lords, with a slight tweak, could have been really, really good. But I digress here. Now we're getting far into the weeds.
Now we're getting crazy.
Night Lords are so good.
Just saying Night Lord good in the same sentence, that's insane, my dude.
There, I had to have a hot take eventually. We got to it. Night Lords are good. The honestly thing holding back from Night Lords is if you ever actually want like a thematic Night Lords army, like painting the lightning is so difficult because you have to do like layers and layers. You have to like glaze it to get a nice effect. It's a whole thing.
I watched like 5 videos on how to paint the lightning bolts, and then I tried it, and nope, it was ugly. So I kind of wanted to play them for Horus Heresy. But I'm definitely not touching any kind of lightning bolt builds for 40k at all.
No,
I'm not a hobbyist. I love them. I'm not good at it though.
Yeah, definitely. If you're coming here for painting tips, I'm not going to turn you away because we appreciate every single viewer. But also, what the hell are you doing? Like, seriously, I've not seen some of my armies. Like, this is just. Actually, I don't want to show too close to the camera to show my horrible dry brushing. But I love the lore so much. I love the game so much. I just have no skill as an artist. I'm at peace with that. Some people like to struggle. They say like, hey, I go online, I see professional artists or better painters, and I feel like insecure about my own hobbying, or they feel less good about their own painting or less motivated. I know I'm not a good artist. I'm completely at peace with that. You can tell me that, I'll fall right asleep. I'll sleep very happily at night. That's not to say I don't enjoy painting well. There's some models I put a lot of effort into, like my Lord Discordant, I put a ton of effort into. Some of my Terminators, a ton of effort, getting every highlight, different layers and stuff. But I'm at peace. I'm not a good artist. And we're just going to get tabletop ready, and we're going to have a good time playing fun armies, you know?
So what you're saying is, if we get 420 subscribers, you're going to do a live stream where you show people how to paint the Mike way, right? That's what you're saying? You're saying it exactly.
If we get enough subscribers, I will not do a live stream and not ruin the 40k community sharing my painting tips.
I want you to destroy I want every model I look at the next event to be disgustingly painted. And they're saying that this is the way. This is the commitment.
It's going to smear some paint all over it. Here's the pro painted model. Still better than a lot of pro painted models out there. Let's just admit that.
I love it when you online you see something that's like pro painted model, and it's like, okay, like what kind of professional? Like he could be a professional skateboard guy. Like
sure.
There's no qualify. You don't go to school, the school of model painting. If that's the thing, I just made myself look like an idiot. But I was willing to run that risk.
Well, for like the 5th or 6th time this episode, it's a little too late to turn back now.
I mean, half my takes usually end up being garbage when you bring them into the real world. But that's the thing. It's half my takes. If you throw enough takes out there, eventually you're going to have a few that are pretty good. And then later you get to go back and say, oh, see, I told you.
Yeah. Well, but that's one of the things, right? That's what I love about when I started Warphammer. It's kind of bringing this voice of like different ways to think about the game, different ideas. And not every idea is good, but like a lot of ideas have like surprisingly good success rate with like units. Like for example, I don't know if you remember when Disciples of Bellicor came out, they were really badly panned. Like a bunch of places, like even really well-regarded places, just kind of like dumped all over them. There was like no interest. Like I think my most viewed article on Warphammer is still the Disciples of Bellicor article because there was like no one else talking about them, and I was like, wait, hold up. I know how to win games of 40k. And I know what army needs to win games of 40k, and this army has it right here, which is why I've been really happy. Basically, like whenever there's someone as well as Disciples of Bellicor, I reach out to them. I want to talk to them. I'm so happy to see this amazing army getting played. So a little bit of a cold situation, but at the same time, I'm trying to think what's okay. Well, so let's end this episode with one take we've each been horribly wrong on in 9th edition. Like one thing we thought was gonna be good, that was bad. One thing we thought was gonna be bad, that was good.
Okay, yeah, I'm here for it.
Cool. And you're gonna go first. Because depending on how embarrassed, I'm gonna match my level of embarrassment to your level of embarrassment. If you say something really embarrassing as a take, I'll match that. But if it's like mildly embarrassing, I'm not gonna throw something out there that's really bad.
I said when the Tyranid book first came out, and I looked through the leaks the first time, I had a couple good takes. Mouse Scepter, every list.
Yeah.
But I had an incredibly embarrassing take that I'll admit to you now, which is that
this isn't also, no one is listening. It's just you and I right now.
Yeah. I also said that Disciples of Bellicor was favored into Tyranids.
Yeah.
No. That take was before I realized fully what interaction the parasite would make on the tabletop as a 5 model count obsec body that also removes your obsec.
Yeah.
That model embarrasses you. If you play Disciples of Bellicor and you play that against that model on the tabletop and you don't have a way to get rid of it, you get pantsed. You get pantsed in front of everyone.
Yeah.
The Tyranid player shove you over the table. You're on the stream table.
Yeah.
And you've been pantsed and you've been shoved onto the stream table, and all the judges and other tournament players gather around you and point at you and they laugh. They say, "Oh, look at the dumb demon kid."
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. The first time I got pantsed by someone on the parasite, I was like, hey, show me that in the rules. The judge walked over, said, like, hold up, are you running a parasite? The other guy said, yeah, and the judge was like, actually, at that price point, he's allowed to hit you with a pantsy during the game. Let's see here. What's my hot take?
I thought that was pretty embarrassing. I was eating my words. It is definitely not a favorite matchup.
Well, but here's the thing, right? I think like the way the mechanics of the army line up, Disciples could be pretty good if Tyranids had a sane amount of points. Like if you got to play with like 300 points more, kind of like they're doing, do you feel it would be a fair matchup?
It's hard to say. I can't live in a world that doesn't exist, right? So I'm not going to bother melding my brain to figure out how they need to balance Tyranids. I think there's a lot of places you can start. But I think they've started, to be fair. Last FAQ would be good for the game. So I think it's the right direction. I thought that was a pretty embarrassing take now that I've actually gotten a lot more tabletop experience against Tyranids. I also think I had the embarrassing take that Custodes weren't going to be good. Almost everybody did.
Well, the demons, Custodes were genuinely, honestly bad. Like Disciples of Bellicor were a big favorite into Custodes.
I thought about them in context of me being a Horde player. Typically 10 armies. And because I was thinking about it in that context, I think I thought about them wrong. Because I've played against Custodes, a new book before the nerf, as a Space Marine army once in what would be a casual game that maybe like, oh, I'm a good player. I can just kind of around them. No, I just lost. I got tabled. I got destroyed.
Yeah. Play Marines and Custodes was just... So back before Custodes nerf, my friend Alex has both Custodes and Blood Angels army, and one day we were drinking whiskey, and I was like, you know what? Let's run a second game. I'll take your Blood Angels against Custodes. And it was like the most helpless game of 40k. I'm not saying I'm a great Blood Angels player, but like he's a very good Blood Angels player. It's kind of like helping me learn the rules and stuff. But like we kind of charged them and did nothing, and then they killed us, and then they charged us again next turn. We did nothing. They killed us. It was like an entirely different game. I was like, wait, I feel like I had like Age of Sigmar data sheets brought to a 40k game somehow compared to Custodes with Marines.
Yeah. And you had to think about like the way that the game was being played was very elite at that LVO. And because of that, Custodes would just gobble up most of them stuff. So,
Yeah.
I think that was also a pretty embarrassing take. But you're gonna have a bad take every once in a while,
Yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah. Well,
That's
I've
part.
literally never had a bad take, but yeah, like the average person, a mere mortal would have a bad take every once in a while.
Yeah. It'll happen. It'll happen, right?
Let's see here. What would be my hot take that turned out poor? Let's see. I really, really didn't like Thousand Suns Terminators when the Codex first came out. Which, I mean, to be fair, it was a different game back then. Like, when you look at it now, Armor of Contempt, and it feels different. I was really into the rubrics. I was really into the characters. And embarrassingly, I was really into the Helldrakes when the Thousand Suns Codex first came out. And so, confession, I've not stopped trying to run Helldrakes. I still run them occasionally. They don't really ever do anything, but they look cool doing nothing, which is, I mean, that's worth like 50, 60 points right there. Like, I keep thinking matchups are like, oh, okay, this is like a good matchup for Helldrakes. And I play the game, and I'm like, I wish I'd brought more characters or rubrics or whatever.
They're decent into like one matchup I can think of, which is like their damage output is very lackluster. So you need to have them be hitting targets that your opponent doesn't want to see.
Yeah.
In that example, I think Eldar are a decent matchup for Helldrakes. If you brought like three Helldrakes and you dumped it into a squad of bikes, you're picking up.
If you go first, for sure, especially because they get the +1 to hit, which works in melee. And then 2 damage is nice. The Flamer is really good for going around getting angles on people.
It's not a effortless unit, and it also can move block people still. Like, you can move through a fire base, but you can't end on it.
Yeah, which is still good, like Knights, for example. I think Knights are really not going to want to see Helldrakes, especially if you go first to basically box them in.
Yeah, so Knights
are slow these days too. Knights are like moving like 10 inches basically everywhere.
Yeah, so you can walk it back and it'd be not like a super frozen take. But yeah, especially when we were in that Custode meta for a while, that would have been the pick.
Well, also at the time, remember, there's a thing back when Thousand Suns came out. Thick City was really, really good with like Talos and all that flat 3 damage. So I played a couple of games and my Terminators just got like wiped by Talos. And I was like, all right, get these Terminators out of here. I think part of that too was, again, I think that was partially me being wrong. Partially we've gone different like the meta. I think Armor of Contempt was just obviously incredible. Just freaking incredible for Scarab Terminators. But I think that's one of the things just to kind of note to end on is that like you're going to read a codex, like Knights will come out and anyone listening, they're going to read a codex, have thoughts. Don't get locked into your thoughts when you first read a book, try things on the tabletop, see how it works. Share your experiences with other good players, kind of bounce ideas around, see how things are going for them. It's tough to read a book and get like a perfect impression of everything until you've got enough reps in there. So I guess the final hot take would be playing games is good if you're trying to get better at 40K. That's my scorching hot take. I know it'll just blow the internet's mind, but actually playing games at 40K is good for getting good at 40K.
And there's no amount of videos you're going to watch online that are going to make you good at 40K. There's stuff that'll help. There's a lot of supplemental stuff that's out there, or that if you dig around, you can find that might help you improve your game. But you not get better at 40K unless you play with repetition.
Well, plus a lot of the things, like you can know things, like for example, again, just to bring it back to like articles I've written previously, like I read the guides for the demons, I ran like a Tzeentch Demons guide, like a Slaanesh Demons guide. I had like a lot of great info in there, but also those are complicated armies to play. Like you can have someone like tell you like, hey, like do this on the tabletop, but in game there's so much to remember. You have to like measure different auras. You have to like think about their army is a big part of it too. Think about a particular mission. There's like so much that like, okay, cool. Even if you feel confident, like on like a conceptual level what to do during a game, like until you've actually gotten enough reps, especially with the new army, it's just you're gonna make mistakes. And again, there's no shame in making mistakes. We all start somewhere. I know, especially when I'm like doing an army, I was making a ton of mistakes, forgetting certain rules until we've gotten like 3 or 4 reps with the army. I learned pretty quickly. The 3 or 4 reps is probably good to get a good feel for it.
Yeah.
But play games. Don't be afraid if like an army like you've heard is good doesn't work for you at first. Like there's no shame in saying like, hey, it's a good army. I just haven't been able to unlock it yet, and just get some more reps in there. And have fun. It's a game ultimately at its core. If you're not having fun, time to think about what you're getting out of the hobby.
Yeah. The game has an infinite amount of depth. Like somebody asked me how I would do movement. Yeah, like asked me how I would do movement on my first turn with my disciples list. Like I could talk for 2.5 hours about this.
Yeah.
And I still don't feel like I would get the point across, because a lot of what you do eventually in a game is you feel like it's a lot of intuition.
Yeah.
So have fun, because I lost way more games than I won this year, leading up to me starting to realize kind of the functional ways that my lists liked to work. I started winning.
Yeah.
It's part of how the game is, I guess. That's part of any game, though. That's part of any practice. That's any practicum.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what makes 40K fun, though, is like on one hand, there's a lot of complexity, but on the other hand, it's a good thing, because I feel like every time I'm playing, I'm discovering like a noodle interaction, or I'm like, oh, if I had like this tech piece, that would have made this game go very differently, or something like that. So always a lot of fun exploring it. Especially again here at Warped Wednesday, it's all about friends enjoying the hobby together. Wallace, I love playing a game that messaging you and we talk about like what happened during the game, or like hopping on a call or something. So the last big tip I would give to anyone listening is just make sure you have a good group, ideally you can talk with, or even if it's not people local, like find like a Discord community, which I'm going to plug here. The Warphammer Discord community is absolutely incredible. Like there's so many friendly, welcoming people here that play every Chaos Army, really want to go in depth and share their experiences. Sharing your experience with the hobby with other people makes it so much better than enjoying the hobby alone. So I just want to give a big thank you to everyone here that joined us here on Warped Wednesday. You're all amazing. I wish I could play games with every single person listening, roll some dice together, share some beers or tea for whatever you want, any sort of beverage, and just enjoy this amazing hobby together. So with that, signing off, Wallace, I'm going to let you get back to painting all those amazing goats, because now you've got a lot of goats to paint.
I got to unbury myself. My leaving tip for you guys: never leave your list up to the cruel hands of fate. And by fate, I mean Discord reaction voting. So the goats have it today.
Let's say that playing 90s Zangor is at the next ACO. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to disappear back into the Immaterium. Signing off, Warped Wednesday. See you, everyone.